Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 5, I think it is, of Activated Live. I'm really excited. Let me just check. We are on the right microphone. Cool, we are. I'm really excited because I'm just totally channeling today because I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. So today I just had this download to talk to you about the power of the sacred no, right? And the example I just put on my story this morning or yesterday, whenever I talked about it, was it didn't come from this, but then I thought about this. When I was first launching my health business, I got invited to be the director of studies at the college where I had studied nutritional therapy. And I am from an academic family. My dad is a university professor. He heads up numerous research journals in his field. He has written countless very prestigious books. He's won all the different awards. I'm actually heading to London because he's getting some Royal Society of something award from the royal family in a couple of weeks, right? He's super academic. And I have always wanted my dad's love and my dad's, what's the word? Can't think of it. But I've always wanted, right? And so I became very academic, very young, because he was really hardworking and very academic. And I'm Virgo rising, a bit of a perfectionist, want to like do all the things. And my worth soon got wrapped around how I was doing at school, right? Because the one day a year I knew I was going to get my dad's attention was on parents' evening, when he was going to come home and I was going to get told how amazing I was and how conscientious and how hardworking I am. And whatever I want to put my mind to, I'll be able to do because I'm good at everything. And it's like, used to get this message, right? I would just correct that. I'm really hardworking, which makes me good at everything. I'm not naturally good at anything, I don't think. But anyway, that's a side note. So I became very dedicated to working really hard. Did the whole engineering degree, got the first class engineering degree because he was an engineer. All the story goes, right? My life has revolved around getting my dad's attention and love and validation. That's where I was going to go for. So when they reached out about director of studies, right? Well, firstly, I've always wanted to be a director, right? Like, what a great title, director, right? So I'm like, I want that title. And then just the prestige of it. Like, I was, the fact they chose me over everybody else, I hadn't had to apply, and it was just all this kind of stuff. And I would have taken that job if I had not been working with a coach at the time. But thank the Lord, I was working with a coach who said to me, if you were doing that, what time are you going to have to work on your business? And it was like, come back to you. Why are you doing your business? And thinking about that director of studies job, right? Brilliant title, right? Brilliant title of the title. The actual job itself is rubbish, right? What you're doing, you're dealing with students who haven't done their homework and asking for extensions. You've got people complaining that they don't understand the assignment. You've got people failing their exams and having to get them back in. You're just basically a bit of a dog's body. You're sorting out the tutor rota, making sure you've got people in to teach all the relevant module. Like, it's just not a great job, is it, right? And I wasn't going to be in my genius. I'm not a project manager. I think I've said it here before. If not, I've said it in Let's Make Money, Honey. I do not like Excel sheets. I do not like plans. They are in my head and they move. I know what I need to get done. I do a to-do list every day. I do love a to-do list. I do love being that, ticking it off. I said I'd do it and do it. I do love that. But schedules, I change my mind every single day, right? Absolutely hate them. So I would have been a terrible director of studies. I mean, I'd have been an amazing director of studies because I worked really hard and I made it work, but I would not have enjoyed it. But thankfully I was working with this coach and she was like, what time are you going to have on your business? And then from a financial perspective, I mean, there's a side note, it was terrible pay as well. So it made no sense. So whilst in that moment, the ego loved it and the ego really wanted to go to dad and tell him that I'd been asked to be the director of studies, I had to take a decision for my higher self, right? Not for my ego. And this is the thing, the ego will come in and will want you to do certain things because the ego will like it. The ego wants to be safe. The ego likes what you've kind of had before, and the ego likes what other people give you validation for. The ego doesn't necessarily like where you want to go, where you've got no evidence that it's possible for you, right? So if you want to be like, well, I want to have, X K months, whatever those are for you, but it's like, well, I mean, when I get there, people are going to think I'm too big for my boots. I'm going to lose all my friends. All that. That's the kind of thing the ego is going to do. It's going to try and keep you safe. It's going to be like, well, you're going to lose all of your family members, or people will take advantage of you, just use you for your money, or, you know, XYZ. The ego will be doing these stories, right? So ego's going to keep you safe. So that was one example, right? So this power of the sacred no, but this comes up in so many different areas in business. And I was just reflecting on it. I was like, oh, I really need to speak into this and activate it. So let's see what comes out, because I don't know what I'll say versus what I was thinking yesterday. But for example, you know, the clients that you're taking on. Now, when money is tight, in the months when the money isn't flowing, in the times when you're like, is this ever going to work? Or even when things are working and you're getting addicted to that flow of cash, and it's like, yeah, I want more of it, I want more of it, I want more of it, because it's like, oh, come in and this makes you feel really good. You can find yourself saying yes to people, even if you know they're not an ideal client, even if you know, like, you know, you're having to really like convince them to sign up, rather than them coming to you and you just going, this is the deal, and then being, yeah, I want to be in, right? That convincing energy is always going to attract in people who are harder work to work with, shall we just say. Like, if you had to drag them to get them through the door, they're going to be the ones who are constantly like, you know, coming to you with problems and stuff, rather than that self-leader who is, well, I've got it, I'll get the money, I'll make it work, I'm coming, I'm doing the thing, and they'll lead. I'm an incredible person to mentor. I'm an incredible person to coach, because I'm such a self-leader. I turn up to my calls with my plan, with the things I want to go through, with what I need their feedback for. I'm 100% prepared, right? I'm brilliant, and I'm amazingly coachable, because I want to improve and I want to do the things. And even if I don't do it, because in fact, I'm going to go live on my business account after this to talk about this, because I wrote a post yesterday and around to posting it. I was like, oh, is it a live? Is it a post? Is it live? Is it a post? Can't decide. But to do this post about, I literally just dropped 15 grand on a mastermind, had my kickoff call with with my new mentor, like a bonus kickoff call in May. I officially start in June. She gave me a bonus one just to chat, so I could tell her where I am, what I'm up to, because we didn't do any kind of onboarding process. This is a funny story in itself, right? Okay, nothing to do with the sacred no, but I'm just going to tell you this story because this is another Instagram post that's going to come, right? I applied for a mastermind without asking what was in it, without asking any of the detail. I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue what I get in this mastermind. I literally have no idea what it involves. And she didn't make me apply. She just got from my voice messages in the DMs that I was the right person. So she's got an application form. She was like, you don't need to do the application form. You sent me 3 voicemails. I know you're exactly the right person, right? So that's an aside. God, I'm channeling. I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, let's strip it back, right? Let's say no to clients that aren't right for us, because they're always going to have hard work. And when your diary is full, when you get full of people, and I mean, I don't know what everyone is in this space, right? I know we've got coaches, I know we've got healers, and we've got all the different things, right? So your diary being full doesn't necessarily mean that you are back to back with one-to-ones. Your diary being full means you haven't got time to do that Instagram post that's going to call on your ideal client. Your diary being full means you haven't got time to go live today. Your diary being full means you haven't got the space to create that online program that you've had in your head for 2 years, and actually could be the thing that brings in recurrent like 6 figures every single year without you needing to do very much. But your diary's full because you've taken these, like, you've looked at the short term and gone, well, I need some cash now. And there's always times we need cash now. And I'm not knocking that. Like, sometimes we're going to have to get cash now somehow, right? But I want you to think about, if you don't need the cash now, and you don't think that person is right, if you say no to them, then that creates the space for the other stuff to come in. It's also saying no to incorrect collaboration. So say, for example, you get invited on a podcast, and this is nothing to do with your audience size, right? I feel quite strongly about this when it comes to like podcasts and stuff. When I first launched my first podcast, and I don't know how many followers I probably had like 1,000 followers or something at the time. And I had people from every size coming on. I had people with 15,000 followers coming onto my podcast. I had people with 200 followers coming onto my podcast. Those people with 200 followers who were just starting their business out worked way harder for me and got way more listens on those podcast episodes than those people with 15,000 who were just like, oh, it's just like a podcast, just done it, reached a few more people, didn't want to do anything with it. Those people were starting out, right? They promoted the hell out of that podcast because they were like, oh my God, this is so important to me. I've never been on a podcast before. Do you know what I mean? So that's another thing. Sorry. So like just going off on one. But say, for example, you get invited on a podcast and it doesn't feel like a hell yes, but you're like, but I said that I was going to commit to doing a podcast every single month, or, you know, whatever like your commitments are to yourself. So it's like, well, I better say yes because I said I'd do that. well, actually, is that the best use of your time? I've gone on podcast where the person has not even tagged me on a story to say that the podcast episode is live. And I've like sat there for an hour and given, like, this is like 2 years ago, and given so much information, like so much content and so much value. And she didn't even promote the podcast. And I was just like, and there's me sharing it to my story going, woohoo, this podcast's out live. And I was just like, oh, I left from such an icky feeling in my stomach, because I'm like, I've just given value. And you literally show me no recognition. And gratitude as a projector, we need our recognition, don't we, right? We've got a projector in this room. Please put in the chat if you know what human design type you are, so I know what I'm working with. But yeah, I know we've got one projector. Second line ease. Yeah, sorry, that's just me. Yeah. So yeah, so even these kind of things, so collaborations, people inviting you on your IG live, people inviting you on podcasts, these different things. Yes, it's great to get your name out there, but if it doesn't feel really aligned, say somebody's values really aren't in alignment with yours. So I might have used this, now I haven't used this example here, but for example, I was going to have somebody come in as a guest expert in my first round of my Nourished You program, and I'd asked her, and then she just randomly changed direction out of nowhere, and she started pushing something which I won't say what it was. It's nothing like really bad or anything, but it was so out of alignment with my values. And I was like, eek, not convinced this is the right energy to have in this space, because what's she going to start promoting in this space in front of these people? And it's not really in alignment with me. So I chose not to continue with that. So yeah, the power of the sacred no. Other times no's are going to come in with investments, right? So I had this conversation with a client this morning. She's been investing quite a lot in herself and her business. She's been investing in me with her mentor. She's been investing in coaching certification. She's been investing in all the different things. And this thing came up with her partner, who was like, you invested this in this. Like, did we talk about this? I was literally like, the message, like, did we talk about this? And like, well, firstly, what's it to do with you? Because it's my money. I can do what I want with it, right? But also, she was kind of like then in this place of like, well, you know, then she was getting the doubt, right? Because her partner was challenging whether she'd done the right thing and what are the guarantees and all different things. But also it's like, well, I do want to go on holiday and I want to do this and I want to do that, I want to do that. And at the moment, all she's seen is I've spent this, I mean, these aren't her words at all, but like her partner sees it as like, I've spent this money, right? Which could go elsewhere. And I said, I get it, because I've had this with my partner. It's like, why are you dropping 15 grand on a mastermind? We could have done so much stuff with it. But for me, that money does the quantum leaps. Like that money takes me to places that I don't know are possible right now, because my mentor's earning 100 grand months. So if she's having 100 grand months and I want 100 grand months, it's not about the 15 grand right now that could be paying for the holiday and the different things. It's about the 120, what is it? What, 100 grand months, £1 million a year next year, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's about that comes in the future, right? So this sacred no may be that we have to say no in the short term to certain things we really want to do. Like, how many people here have had a client say, oh, I can't afford it, it's too expensive, when you've talked about your one-to-one or your program or whatever it is, right? You're always going to have people that say it's too expensive. But then you've seen them go on holiday and go out for dinner like multiple times a week or every weekend, or they're going, you know, wherever they're going, whatever they're doing, going on mini breaks, they're doing all these different things, right? And it's like, well, they can afford it, but they're saying no to that right now. And I'm kind of speaking to Leah now, because I know she's in the health industry the same as me, right? So it's like, this like comes up for people, and it's like they're saying no to the health really, and saying yes to like the good times in the short term. But what are we without our health long term? Like, if we're just going to, like, I said this the other day on stories, like too many people live short and die long. Like, but so what happens is we get sick younger. We're living longer because we've got all the drugs and all the different things to keep us going. But like we're dying for most of that time. We're living short, we're dying long. So like for me, I would rather live long and die short. And so it's like, it's that thing, it's that sacred no. It's like, well, I'm going to say no to that thing. Actually, yeah, I am going to invest in that for a couple of months with you. And then I know I'm going to be in a better place. So that's an aside. But yeah, so when we're investing in our businesses, it may be like, well, we have to say no to certain things. So we've got the money for those investments, be them programs, be them one-to-one mentors, whatever they are. But we're saying to the short-term no's to those, sacred no's to those, because it's going to give like, you know, instead of 1 holiday this year that I'm not paying for, I get to go on 6 next year because the money's like quadrupled, you know, etc. That's just an example. I'm going off on one. Feel free to put anything in the chat that you want me to riff on with this, because I don't know where my brain's going. It's just going all over the place. So the power of the sacred no. We don't need to say yes to everything. When we say no, and the other no is like the next opportunity, right? So when we get a no, so this is the other side to it, right? So we get to say no to things, but we're also going to get no's sometimes. And instead of looking at those no's as like bad things, I just say next opportunity. NO equals next opportunity. The other one is rejection equals redirection. That's one other one I really love as well. So it's like, yeah, you may get rejected for something, but then you've actually redirected something. You may get like a really powerful no. I'm trying to think of an example of something that's happened to me. I can't really think of one at the moment. But another example of when I've used the sacred no is I was going to do corporate wellness. Ever since I launched my business, I wanted to do corporate wellbeing. I wanted to go into the workplace. I wanted to support high achieving women in leadership and support their hormones and all the different things in the workplace and stop them burning out. And I was having a lot of meetings with a business partner on it. We'd got a logo, we'd got a business name, we'd got a proposal of what we were going to be taking into the places. And it just got to a stage where it felt icky. And it didn't feel in alignment with my original goals and intentions for that project. And the reason why I'd reached out to somebody else. And I was like, this isn't going in the direction that I want it to go in. And she wasn't bringing what I wanted her to bring to the party. And it just wasn't looking how I wanted it to look. Now I could have held a lot of like guilt and said, okay, well, we've just spent like 2-3 months working on this. You know, we've both done loads of work on it. I need to just see it through just to be a good person. But for me, all the time that I was spent on that was going to take me away from like what I really want to do, what I really want to like, because I still might go and do corporate wellness at some point. I can't see it happening in 2023. I mean, I can't really see it ever happening right now, but maybe it will happen one day. But all the time that has released for me to work on other things in my business. Do you know what I mean? Like doing this, launching Nourish. I've never been able to launch Nourish You if I was doing that. And, you know, we're just going into the second round of Nourished You. I haven't even gone into early bird on it. It's already £9,000 worth of sales just on people reaching out and being like, oh, this is available. Can I get on the pre-sale for it? And it's selling at a cheaper price than it'll be on early bird on pre-sale. And it's like, well, I'm going into this program, you know, with guaranteed before early bird, we're already on this £9,000, right? So these things wouldn't be happening. And then this is going to run on, I said this last week, didn't I? That program starts to run and repeat and repeat and repeat. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as I get more client cases, as I become more famous for it and all the different things, right? So I had to say that sacred no because something was feeling off. And so linked to that sacred no is reconnecting with our intuition. And I was really thinking about this morning because I'm having a real journey at the moment. If you are into human design, you'll love this. If you're not into human design, bear with me. I'm an emotional authority in human design. And it drives me mad because I think it's the worst type. Joking aside. Sacral response and splenic response, I think, are the best types, right? Because it's like you kind of know straight away, right? The emotional, they teach that you need to ride your wave before you make a decision. And I've had this real challenge with this because I'm like, for a good year, I handed over my decision making to my emotional authority. And what was happening was I was leaving stuff. And what they say is there's no truth in the now, right? So you'll have a high and a low and there's no truth in the now. Like you need to make decisions from this neutral state. You need to ride your wave a bit and make decisions from a neutral state. And what happened was I was like leaving these decisions and I was losing all energy for it. Then I was like losing trust in my downloads I was getting in like the messages and stuff. And I kind of, not to say I've kicked it to the curb, I've started working off intuition a lot more because I'm like, I've still got intuition, whether I'm an emotional being or not. Like I do allow the wave in a way. Like I'm not like thinking of something and putting it straight out in the moment, although sometimes I do. But I really feel like outsourcing stuff to the wave implies we haven't got intuition and we don't know ourselves, right? And I think we do. So how on earth did I start talking about that? So we all have intuition, right? That was my point. We have intuition. So if your intuition's telling you something is the wrong thing to do, your intuition's telling you, you know, we may take moves, you know, say, for example, we sign up to a certain coaching certification. It's like there's 2 on the table and we don't know which one to go for, and we go for one. The intuition's just telling us one. Oh, hang on, I'll go back a step, right? I'll talk about this because I talked about this the other day. My breathwork certification, I didn't ever plan to do breathwork. Well, I didn't really have a plan. I just knew I wanted to do it, right? I just knew I wanted to do breathwork. Now, what that's then ended up doing is it's come in every program I do. So I do a subconscious clearing in Nourished You around people, like what the root cause of why people are hanging on to bodyweight. People had massive transformations just in that module. I had people messaging me going, the whole price of the course is worth just doing that breath work and getting the breakthroughs that I got through that. I use it in the Let's Make Money Honey experience. I'm using it in my one-to-one clients. I didn't go into it thinking, I want a breathwork certification because I want to be able to do this in my business. I did it because breathwork has been really transformational for me, getting me out of my head and into my body. I found it really powerful. I really want to learn more about it. Right. And so then the same thing. It's like when I was looking for coaching certification, I knew I wanted one that had NLP because I'd worked with an NLP coach, and I found that really valuable because I'm very mental. I'm very up in the head. Right. And I had to do NLP before I did breath work, because you couldn't have got me into my body and before I'd started working on mindset stuff. Now, some people are more embodied than they could be, right? But I wasn't embodied at all. I was not in the body. I lived 40 years up here. So following the nudges, follow the intuition, and then say no to the things that you don't need to do. I think I might wrap it up there, you know, because otherwise I think I'll just speak for the sake of speaking. And I think it's going to be better, more potent, because I think we've talked about a few different things. So this is your invitation today to reflect on what you might be saying yes to, and be that, you know, it may be, it can even be as far as how you're looking after your body, right? How you're nourishing your body. Like, are you saying yes to eating a load of, and I say this from experience, food you don't particularly love that makes you feel rubbish because your partner loves that food. So then you want to make him happy. So then you're eating the food that he likes to eat, right? And then you start slowly over time feeling less and less and less healthy. Like, where do you need to say no and set that boundary? Where do you say no to certain things you're doing in your business? Where do you need to start saying no to certain clients? Then you might have a client coming up to the end that you're like, well, if I just like sign them on for another 3 months, it's X amount into my business. So I'm really going to try and sign them up. But if you're not getting enjoyment from working with them, if it's feeling hard, if they're not doing the work, if they're turning up unprepared, all these different things, and it doesn't feel good, it's like, should we have a sacred no? So I think we're done. I think we've had a great time together. Wish you all the best of luck. This is something that's been on my mind recently. Like all the different things, right? So yeah, this is your invitation. Go and look at where you need to start using sacred no. Thank you for being here. Really grateful to you for always turning up every single week. Genuinely am, because otherwise I'll be presenting to nobody. And we will be back next week. If you want, feel free to come on to IG, because I'm about to go and do a live about this. Basically, the theme of the live is going to be, you are the captain of your own ship. So I will reveal all when I get on IG. Mwah. Lots of love.